What is up, everybody? It's JT Sports Master Guys with another video. This time I'm here with my full first round 2020 NFL mock draft. This is the first of many mock drafts that will be on the channel the next couple of weeks. And if you're new to the channel and you never saw how I do one of my mock drafts, I do my mock drafts by putting myself in the shoes of an NFL general manager for all 32 NFL teams. And I choose who I will pick if I was the general manager of that team. So a lot of these mock drafts I watch have been pretty good on YouTube, but I have seen a lot of bad ones as well. And I think for the most part, although I don't think this NFL mock draft is going to be completely great, because a lot of people are going to have their opinions down in the comment section down below. But I do believe that my mock draft will be a lot better than the mock drafts I've seen on ESPN, NFL Network, and Fox Sports. And these guys get paid more money to do this than I do. So I believe that my mock draft won't be completely bad. It'll probably have a couple of questionable picks down in the comment section, but I think for the most part this mock draft will be pretty okay. So before I get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily, and let's get into it. So with the first overall pick, I had the Cincinnati Bengals taking quarterback out of the University of LSU, Joe Burrow. Now, a lot of people think that Cincinnati is a terrible place to play. They have no talent at all, and I have to disagree with that. I think Joe Burrow, the only concern the Cincinnati Bengals really have is their offensive line, and that's pretty much it. And one of their offensive linemen last year, who was the first round pick, didn't even play last season, so you're getting him back. So the offensive line is pretty much the biggest question that the Cincinnati Bengals have. But other than that, Joe Burrow has a pretty reasonable team to work with. You got Joe Mixon in the backfield, who's a pretty solid halfback. You got Tyler Boyd, who has proven 2 years in a row that he is a solid number one option at the wide receiver position. You also have John Ross, who had a pretty solid last season as well when he was able to stay on the field to be healthy. So I don't think Joe Burrow is going into a team that he has absolutely no time to work with. He has talent. Pretty much the biggest problem in Cincinnati for the offensive side of the ball is the offensive line, which I believe that they should be able to get that corrected in the next couple of years. So the second overall pick, I had Washington Redskins taking edge rusher out of the Ohio State University, Chase Young. Now, Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded coach, so I expect the Washington Redskins to go ahead and go defense on with the second pick of this year's draft. Not the general manager for the Washington Redskins, I would go ahead and take Chase Young. And here's why. Because, listen, the Washington Redskins already have Jonathan Allen. You got Ryan Kerrigan. So you go ahead, you draft Chase Young, and you have one of the better front sevens in the NFL. So I think they go ahead and they draft Chase Young with the guys they already have, including Ryan Kerrigan. I think the Washington Redskins could make a lot of noise when it comes to their pass rushing unit on the defensive side of the ball. And I think this could be a really good pass rushing group if they go ahead and they draft Chase Young. With the third overall pick, I have the Detroit Lions taking linebacker out of Clemson University, Isaiah Simmons. Listen, the Detroit Lions, they desperately need to win now. Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, they have no more time, I believe. I don't think they're going to get another season if they miss the playoffs next year. So they desperately need a player who can go ahead and have an immediate impact and help them make the playoffs next year in a very tough division. And I think Isaiah Simmons is that guy. In my personal opinion, I think Isaiah Simmons is the best defensive prospect in this year's draft because no other player in this draft can play outside linebacker, inside linebacker, slot cornerback, and safety, all at a very high level like Isaiah Simmons can. So Isaiah Simmons would definitely give the Detroit Lions a superstar that they need on the defensive side of the ball. He'll help out that defense in a big way because he can do more than one thing to help out that Detroit Lions defense, which is something that they desperately need because that Detroit Lions defense last season was absolutely terrible. So I have Isaiah Simmons going to Detroit with the third overall pick. With the fourth overall pick, I have the New York Giants taking offensive lineman out of the University of Georgia, Andrew Thomas. Now, I know the New York Giants have some holes on the defensive side of the ball as well. They probably could go Derek Brown here. But if I'm Dave Gettleman, I'm trying to protect my franchise quarterback and Daniel Jones. I think that is the most important thing that New York Giants need to be able to do because we've seen what has happened to quarterbacks in the past when the offensive line isn't the best and end up getting beat down and things like that. Look at Andrew Luck. His career ended early and things like that. You got Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson who have been running for their lives for most of their entire NFL career since they got drafted. So if I'm Dave Gettleman, I'm helping my franchise quarterback stay protected by drafting Andrew Thomas, who is the best offensive lineman in this draft class. He's a good run blocker. He's a good pass blocker as well. You're also going to help out Saquon Barkley as well because his offensive line didn't really help him a lot this season. So I'm drafting Andrew Thomas there. I think this would be a pretty good pick. And if I'm David Gettleman, I would go ahead and pull the trigger. Now, it may not be a flashy pick, but it would be a much needed pick to help improve the offensive line for the New York Giants. That last year when they were able to stay healthy was probably the best offensive line they had in the last couple of years when they were all able to stay healthy. So Andrew Thomas with the fourth overall pick. With the fifth overall pick, I had the Miami Dolphins taking quarterback out of University of Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa. Now listen, the Miami Dolphins have Ryan Fitzpatrick back there. So Ryan Fitzpatrick is a pretty okay quarterback for what the Miami Dolphins want as of right now. So for the Miami Dolphins, you go ahead, you draft Tua Tagovailoa, right? And you let him sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick, let him learn a little bit, let him learn the NFL, the playbook, and things like that. Then when Ryan Fitzmagic, the magic starts to run off and things like that, maybe around week 10 or week 11 or something like that, you go ahead and you insert Tua Tagovailoa. And a lot of if Ryan Fitzpatrick plays well next season, then you're gonna let Tua Tagovailoa sit behind him for a whole entire season, and then when he retires, then you can go ahead and you can put Tua Tagovailoa in there. And if it works out the way I said it, the second part or the second option, which is Ryan Fitzpatrick playing well next season behind that offensive line, you let him get beat up. Then after next, you go ahead, fully address the offensive line, get the team better. Then Tua Tagovailoa will have some weapons to work with and things like that. He won't go back there and get beat down. Because listen, my big concern is Ryan Fitzpatrick ends up stinking it up for the first 4 weeks, and they just go ahead and they throw it into a Tagovailoa in the fold. And with his injury problems and behind that offensive line, he just goes ahead and gets beat down. So hopefully everything works out the way I hope it will. And I had the Miami Dolphins taking Tua Tagovailoa, and I think they need to take a quarterback right now because basically all the quarterbacks that are good enough to be franchise guys are pretty much not going to last outside the top 10 with all these quarterback needy teams right now. So if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm taking Tua Tagovailoa. Get your franchise guy with the fifth overall pick. Don't wait because he might not be available. The sixth overall pick, I have the LA Chargers taking the third quarterback off of my board, and that is Justin Herbert. Now, Phillip Rivers, I just read an article not so long before recording this that Phillip Rivers has reportedly moved his family from the Los Angeles area, and they are now residing somewhere in the state of Florida. So it looks like the LA Chargers might end up moving on from Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers didn't really have a great season. You got Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is probably going into the best situation than all three of these quarterbacks so far. And here's why: the LA Chargers organization isn't terrible. It isn't great neither. It's average. He has weapons to work with. At the wide receiver position, you got Mike Williams, you got Keenan Allen, who is outside looking into the top five, and he's a top 10 wide receiver. So he has some receivers to throw the ball to. You also are going to have an offensive line that isn't terrible. They have some holes that need to be filled, but overall, the offensive line isn't as bad as the rest of these quarterbacks' offensive lines are. So Justin Herbert with the LA Chargers and that coaching staff with Anthony Lynn, I think he has the potential to probably have the best rookie season out of all of these three quarterbacks combined if he goes to the LA Chargers. And I think Justin Herbert is NFL ready. He doesn't really need to sit behind anybody. Just like Tua and Joe Burrow, NFL ready. And Justin Herbert also has some mobility as well. He has a good arm, and he's pretty accurate with the football. Doesn't make a lot of bad decisions neither. So I think he'd be a pretty good pick for the LA Chargers at number 6. With the 7th overall pick, I have the Panthers taking safety Grant Delpit out of the University or LSU University or Louisiana State University, however you pronounce it. Now, the Carolina Panthers have failed to address their need of safety for the last 2 drafts. So if I'm the general manager for the Panthers, I'm going ahead and I'm going to draft Grant Delpit. I'm not going to make the same decision, the same mistake the Carolina Panthers made 2 seasons in a row, not taking the safety. Because last year they had a safety that was on the board, and they chose to take Will Grier over him. And we also had that worked out. A lot of Carolina Panthers fans were really upset that they didn't take a safety, and rightfully so, because Will Grier, we really saw how bad Will Grier was. He wasn't ready to be an NFL quarterback this past season. So safety Grant Delpit, I think, would be a great pick for the Carolina Panthers. And also, you just lost Luke Kuechly, who was a very big part of that defense. And also, not only was he a great linebacker when it came to his ability to stop running, things like that, but he was also very good at pass coverage as well. And now losing him, you lose a guy who was very good in the middle of that field. So now that secondary is definitely going to take a step back, and the whole entire defense is going to take a step back when it comes to their ability to stop the pass. So if you're the Carolina Panthers, you definitely need a guy who can go back there and help out that pass defense, and that's something that Grant Delpit can do. So, with the 8th overall pick, I had the Arizona Cardinals taking offensive tackle out of Alabama, Jedrick Willis. Now, it may not be a flashy pick, For Arizona Cardinals fans, they probably would prefer to get a pass rusher or a wide receiver. But listen, I think the most important thing that Arizona needs to address is the offensive line, because I don't know if you guys ever had this experience, but if you were a kid growing up and you were walking in your neighborhood and you all of a sudden heard a dog barking and they start charging at you because their owner forgot to keep the dog on the leash, that's what Kyler Murray was. He was basically a quarterback back there running from everybody on the entire defense, because the offensive line wasn't able to get from a lot of time to sit back there and throw. So Kyler Murray was back there running for his life. And like I said earlier, you have to be able to protect your franchise quarterback. You need to protect your first round investment. So if you're the Arizona Cardinals, this wide receiver class is deep. It's a lot of talent in this draft. You get a good wide receiver in rounds 3 or 4 and be pretty good, right? So if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, I'm more focused on protecting Kyler Murray than trying to get another wide receiver or getting a good pass rusher. I think the most important thing for Arizona is protecting Kyler Murray and keeping him outright and keeping him healthy. So I have him taking Dedrick Willis, who a lot of people think is pretty solid. I think he's pretty solid in my opinion. The only concern that people have about him is that he had a lot of false start penalties during his time for the University of Alabama. But I'd rather an offensive lineman give up a false start penalty than give up a sack. So that's why I have him going 8th overall to the Arizona Cardinals. With the 9th overall pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting a cornerback out of The Ohio State University, Jeffrey Okudah. Now, Jeffrey Okudah is the best cornerback in this draft class. And the Jacksonville Jaguars pass defense has took a big step down ever since they traded away Jalen Ramsey. A lot of the Jacksonville Jaguar fans trying to make it seem like they ain't need Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was overrated and things like that. We saw that worked out. Ever since Jalen Ramsey left Jacksonville, this pass defense has went from at least top 15, outside looking in the top 10, to one of the worst in the NFL. So they definitely need to go ahead and they need to address that cornerback position, get Jeffrey Okudah, put him alongside of the other side of AJ Boye, and I think Jacksonville Jaguars will be pretty set there. With the 10th overall pick, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Wirfs out of Iowa University. Now, this guy is super athletic. He's really fast, really agile. He's probably going to have a good combine as well. The Cleveland Browns, a big reason why they failed to make it to the playoffs was because they couldn't protect Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield didn't have enough time to get the ball out to his playmakers, Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. So if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm going ahead and I'm addressing that offensive line. I would protect Baker Mayfield, and that's who I had the Cleveland Browns taking with the 10th overall pick. With the 11th overall pick, this is probably the first pick that's probably going to cause a lot of controversy down in the comment section. I had the New York Jets taking defensive lineman out of Auburn University, Derek Brown. Now, I know the New York Jets took Quinn Williams last season, right? But listen, you get Derek Brown, right? Who is probably the best defensive lineman prospect I've seen since Ndamukong Suh. I'm not saying he is the Ndamukong Suh, but he's just as good as the Ndamukong Suh was coming out of college. Just a little bit, just he's not as good, but he's a little bit below there. He's not too far. This guy got quadruple teams versus Minnesota. This guy has incredible film. He's very hard to stop at one-on-one pass blocking situations. So if I'm the New York Jets, right? You get Quentin Williams last season. Then you go ahead and get this guy down low. You have a very good defensive line for the next foreseeable future. And you also help with that secondary. I know a lot of Jets fans are probably going to say they need a cornerback, a preferred cornerback, or somebody in the secondary. But having a good pass rush unit, being able to get pressure on the quarterback up front helps out your secondary, because then those guys in the secondary don't have to cover these wide receivers for as long when you're able to have a good, consistent pass rush. So I have the New York Jets taking Derek Brown there. Probably not going to be a popular pick amongst New York Jets fans, but to me, it'll make a lot of sense there. So with the 12th overall pick, I had the Oakland Raiders taking the first wide receiver off the board in my mock draft, and wide receiver CeeDee Lamb out of the University of Oklahoma. I think CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in his draft class. He may not be the best route runner. He may be second behind Jerry Jeudy, but he is a really good wide receiver. He's a good route runner. He can make a lot of things happen with the ball in his hands. He's also a very good deep ball wide receiver. He can make a lot of big contested catches, those 50-50 balls as well. So I have CeeDee Lamb going to the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders, last season, they had a couple of playmakers. You had Darren Waller, you had Josh Jacobs, you had Tyrell Williams, who proved to be a very good number one wide receiver. But other than Tyrell Williams, you didn't really have a lot of depth there and a lot of targets to throw to outside of Tyrell Williams and Darren Waller. So if I'm the Oakland Raiders, I'm going to give Derek Carr another target to throw the football to, and that is CeeDee Lamb. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Colts taking edge rusher A.J. Epinesa. A.J. Epinesa is the second best pass rusher in this draft class. Now, although he isn't the flashiest guy, he's not a guy who's going to have a credible off-the-wall combine, but he fits the mold of what the Indianapolis Colts want. They don't want the most flashiest player. They don't want the guy who's going to run the fastest combine. They don't want the guy who's going to have the crazy 40 or the freaky combine or anything like that. They want the guy who's going to be able to come in there, produce, and get the job done. And that's what edge rusher AJ Epinesa is able to do. Now, I know his stats may not reflect that, but I still think on film he would be a perfect fit for the Indianapolis Colts, and they need another pass rusher there in Indianapolis. With the 14th overall pick, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting offensive tackle at the University of Houston, Josh Jones. Now, if I'm the general manager for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans want to get another quarterback. They want to get rid of Jameis Winston. I think that would be pretty dumb, considering the fact that in this Bruce Arians offense, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is going to be. If you don't have a good offensive line and you want to run a system that Bruce Arians has, you're going to have to give your quarterback time to throw. Now, I'll give that Jameis Winston through 30 interceptions and things like that. And those interceptions, you go back and watch the film, were not on Jameis Winston. Now, Jameis Winston also got sacked over 40 times this year. So the offensive line is really not good. So if you want Jameis Winston to succeed and give him the best time to assess how good he really is, give him a good offensive line. And that all starts with giving him a franchise offensive tackle in Josh Jones. Josh Jones is the best pass blocking offensive lineman in this draft class. And I think he will fit very well in the Bruce Arians system that he likes to throw the ball, likes to push the ball down deep. Because look, you can't sit there and run the system that Bruce Arians runs with having all these wide receivers running these vertical routes and Jameis Winston not having all of that time to sit back there and throw with all those deep routes down the field. If you're going to run that Bruce Arians offense, you got to give the quarterback time to sit back and let those deep routes down the field develop. And that's something that we didn't really see Jameis Winston have a lot of time to do last year with how bad the offensive line for Tampa Bay played. So you need to go ahead and select offensive tackle Josh Jones out of the University of Houston. Best pass blocking offensive lineman in this draft class. I think he fits very well with Tampa Bay. With the 15th overall pick, I had the Denver Broncos selecting the second wide receiver off my board, and wide receiver Jerry Jeudy out of the University of Alabama. Now, Jerry Jeudy is the second best wide receiver in my opinion. This dude isn't too far off from being able to do what CD can do. I mean, this guy can make a lot of things happen. The ball in his hands. He has incredible footwork. He's the best route runner in this draft class. He also has very reliable hands. He would be a great option on the other side of Courtland Sutton, who made it to the Pro Bowl this season. And he would give Drew Lock another target to throw the football to, who looks like to be the franchise quarterback for the Denver Broncos. 16th overall pick, had the Atlanta Falcons selecting Gross Matos out of Penn State University. Now, Gross Matos, to some people, is probably a second rounder, but to me, I think if the Atlanta Falcons have the chance to get another edge rusher, if I'm the general manager, I'll pull the trigger of Gross Matos, because here's why. The Atlanta Falcons, a big reason why their defense struggled last year, in my opinion, was because they were unable to get a consistent pass rush. They were not really that good rushing the passer. So you need to get the guy who can come in there and rush the passer. Vic Beasley wasn't able to do that. So you go ahead and you get Gross Matos here, who should be able to have a pretty solid rookie year. I think he'll be good enough to have 5 sacks. I know 5 sacks isn't as impressive, but it is good as a rookie. So I think Gross Matos can come in there in that Danforth system right away and have some success for Atlanta and getting pressure on the quarterback, which is something that Atlanta hasn't been able to do. With the 17th overall pick, I had the Dallas Cowboys second quarterback Trayvon Diggs. Now, this is a no-brainer. If I'm Jerry Jones and I'm in that front office for the Dallas Cowboys, I'm saying, Jerry, listen, we got to take a cornerback. This secondary, other than Byron Jones, hasn't really been that consistent when we look at the quarterback play. So at corner, I'm taking cornerback Trayvon Diggs out of Alabama. Now, I have my criticism on Trayvon Diggs. He didn't really look that impressive versus LSU. His film, every time I watch the Alabama game, he didn't really have a lot of plays that stood out to me. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to reevaluate his film. Maybe I'll get a second opinion on him. Maybe I'll change my mind about Trayvon Diggs. But for the most part, he is a first-round cornerback just because he is one to tackle. He is athletic. And I think with the pass rush that Dallas has up front, that's also going to help him out a lot in coverage. But I do think he's a first-round caliber player because of his athleticism and things like that. But overall, I think he'll be a perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboys because the Dallas Cowboys like having athletic cornerbacks. Look at Byron Jones. Byron Jones is one of the most athletic cornerbacks that we have in the NFL today. And I think Trayvon Diggs would be another good athletic cornerback to put on the opposite side of Byron Jones there. So with the 18th overall pick, I have the Miami Dolphins taking offensive tackle Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. Now, this guy is huge. He is enormous. He's gigantic. he's going to be a handful for a pass rusher to handle just because of how big this guy is. And this guy has been one of the best offensive linemen that we've seen in the SEC for this past season. I mean, this guy is huge. He's massive, and he also has good fork as well. He's also a very good run blocker. So I think the Miami Dolphins, they need to address that offensive line. They also need a halfback here as well. But I think they go ahead, they select offensive tackle out of Louisville and Mekhi Becton and help protect whoever's going to be their franchise quarterback and ride this magic next season. With the 19th overall pick, I have the Oakland Raiders taking linebacker out of the University of Oklahoma and Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray was easily the best player on that Oklahoma defense. It's not going to take you a lot of games to find that out. He was the heart and soul of that Oklahoma defense. And, I mean, he is the second best linebacker in this draft class behind Isaiah Simmons. The Oakland Raiders needed to address their linebackers, and I think Kenneth Murray will be a good addition to that defense. And if I'm the general manager, if I'm Mike Mayock, I go ahead and I draft Kenneth Murray with the 19th overall pick. With 20th overall pick, this is probably the second pick of this draft, of this mock draft, that's probably going to cause a lot of disagreement in the comment section. But it's Javon Kinlaw. The Jacksonville Jaguars over the last couple of seasons have showed a intense commitment to addressing up front of their defensive line. They spend a lot of draft picks for the front part, the front seven of their defense. And I think Javon Kinlaw, he was an All-American this season. I know a lot of you guys probably wouldn't know that because South Carolina was so terrible. But Javon Kinlaw, he can stop the run. This dude is an elite run stopper. He also can get after the quarterback as well. But the Jacksonville Jaguars need a guy who can come in there and stop the run. And they also like guys who can rush the passer as well. That's what Javon Kinlaw brings you. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars really want a guy who can get in there and stop the run. And that's something that they don't really have up front. And I think Javon Kinlaw will give you that. And also, he's very good at giving after the passer as well. With the 21st overall pick, I had the Philadelphia Eagles taking cornerback C.J. Henderson. Now, they also probably could take a wide receiver here, but I think cornerback is a bigger need, considering the fact that this Philadelphia Eagles secondary has not been good. Even when they did win the Super Bowl, their secondary wasn't really that good. So you go ahead and you get C.J. Henderson. Now, I think C.J. Henderson is the second best cornerback in this draft class. Now, the reason why I had Trayvon Diggs going ahead of him is because I think Trayvon Diggs just makes a little bit more sense because Dallas likes to draft athletic quarterbacks, and Trayvon Diggs is a little bit more athletic than C.J. Henderson. But C.J. Henderson is probably one of the best quarterbacks in this draft class. He's good in man-to-man coverage. He's good in zone coverage as well, and he will be a perfect fit in Philadelphia. Philadelphia desperately needs some help in that secondary. C.J. Henderson can go ahead and give him that, being, in my opinion, the second best cornerback in this draft class. With the 22nd overall pick, I had the Buffalo Bills selecting a wide receiver out of Clemson University, T. Higgins. Now, T. Higgins, he's not the most athletic wide receiver. He's not quick. He's not fast or anything like that. But he has good hands, and he is a good deep ball wide receiver, which is something that Buffalo wants because Josh Allen likes to throw the ball deep, and he gives them a good 50-50 wide receiver to throw the football to in those situations when Josh Allen chooses to push the ball down the field. Now, this Buffalo Bills wide receiving core isn't bad, but it's not great. And John Brown, although he had a pretty solid year, he's not a number one wide receiver. He's a good number two, a good slot receiver. So if you're Buffalo, you go ahead and you select wide receiver T. Higgins out of Clemson. With the 23rd overall pick, I have the fourth wide receiver being taken at this point. I had the New England Patriots selecting Henry Ruggs, the third out of Alabama University. I think Henry Ruggs fits the mold of what the New England Patriots want out of their wide receivers. Now, the New England Patriots have N'Keal Harry, a lot of other guys, and Kobe Myers and things like that, but they don't have a wide receiver who is good inside the numbers. They need a good wide receiver who not only can catch the ball and get open, but they need a wide receiver who's good at running quick, fast routes. And that's something that Henry Ruggs is. He's probably the fastest player in this upcoming NFL draft. He's probably going to end up breaking the NFL combine record for the 40-yard dash. So if you're the New England Patriots and Henry Ruggs is available, and I'm the general manager, if I'm Bill Belichick, I go ahead and I draft him because the New England Patriots have always, before this season, always had a good wide receiver who wasn't big or very physical, but he was very good at getting open and running quick, fast routes and was very quick. And that's something that Henry Ruggs is. He fits perfect in that New England Patriots offense. With the 24th overall pick, I have another wide receiver being taken. I have the New Orleans Saints selecting wide receiver out of LSU, Justin Jefferson. Now, Justin Jefferson isn't as good as the other wide receiver that they have, but he is pretty good. I think he would be another complimentary piece on the long side of Malcolm Thompson. The New Orleans Saints have been looking for a true number one wide receiver for the last couple of seasons. The season before this one, they brought in Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant ended up getting injured. Then they also brought in Antonio Brown for a workout, but due to all the field issues, they didn't end up signing him. So the New Orleans Saints are still looking for true number two wide receiver. I thought Traquan Smith would end up blossoming into that this past season, but that didn't end up happening. He ended up suffering injuries and things like that. So I think Justin Jefferson would be a perfect fit and a perfect fit for this New Orleans Saints offense and Sean Payton's scheme. With the 25th overall pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings selecting cornerback out of LSU, Christian Fulton. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are in cap hell right now, so they're probably going to end up having to cut somebody. That's probably going to end up being one cornerback, either Trey Waynes or maybe Xavier Rhodes. A lot of people think that's probably going to most likely be Xavier Rhodes. So if that happens, they're going to have a need to fill. So they're going to have to end up selecting cornerback Christian Fulton out of LSU. Now, he probably could be a lot higher on this list, but I mean, his national championship game wasn't really that impressive. That kind of lowered his draft stock, in my opinion, considering the fact that he was facing a lot of good potential first round kind of wide receivers in Clemson. So his draft stock went a little bit down in my opinion, but he's still a first round cornerback, and I think he will fit very well in Mike Zimmer's scheme because he's willing to tackle. He's a solid tackler in my opinion, and he's also a very good cornerback as well. Although his national championship game wasn't really that impressive to me. The 26th overall pick, I had the Miami Dolphins selecting halfback DeAndre Swift. The Miami Dolphins don't really have a true halfback back there, so I think drafting DeAndre Swift gets them a final stable halfback right there. He's going to be a three-down halfback. He can play on first and second down. He can also catch the ball out the backfield. And Georgia normally has a good reputation when it comes to producing good halfbacks. I think DeAndre Swift will go ahead and continue that tradition of being another great Georgia halfback there. And I think he'll be a good fit behind the Miami Dolphins there with his ability to catch out the backfield. And also, this guy's a pinball machine. He makes a lot of things happen. He's a very physical runner as well. And a lot of people think you have to be 250 pounds to be a physical runner, things like that. You don't have to be the biggest halfback to be a physical runner. This is what DeAndre Swift is. He is a very physical, down the hill halfback. You can give him the ball up the gut. You can give you some physical plays on the mid. You can also hit him the ball in between the tackles, outside the tackles. He can do damage there. He can also catch the ball out the backfield as well. So don't let this guy's size fool you. You don't have to be 240, 250 pounds to be a physical runner. DeAndre Swift is very physical despite his size. I think he's like 216 or something like that. But overall, DeAndre Swift, I think, would be a very good fit for Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins team. With the 27th overall pick, I had the Seattle Seahawks selected cornerback Jeff Gladney out of TCU. Now, this is probably the last first-round caliber cornerback in this draft class. And Seattle, they desperately need some help in the secondary because you go back and you watch that Green Bay Packers game in the divisional round of the playoffs. The Seattle Seahawks surrendered they went like 9 of 13 on third down and trying to get third down stops. Green Bay was 9 of 13 and converting on third downs. And a big reason why was because Seattle's secondary wasn't really good that game. So if you're Seattle, you need to address that secondary, address the cornerback position, and select cornerback Jeff Gladney out of TCU. With the 28th overall pick, I had the Baltimore Ravens selecting Laviska Shenault out of Colorado University. Now, I went back and forth between who I think the Baltimore Ravens should get in this first mock draft. Initially, I had them selecting an offensive guard because they had like some kind of rumor that one of the offensive guards, I can't think of his name right now, that he might end up retiring, Marshall Yanda. So a lot of people think that Marshall Yanda might end up retiring. And if that was the case, I think Baltimore should go ahead and select his replacement. But I ended up selling at the fact that maybe they could go ahead and get an offensive guard in the second round, the third round of the draft, simply for the fact that it's not really a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good offensive guards, but not any that deserve to be taken in the first round. So if you're Baltimore, you go ahead and you address the wide receiver position. Now, if I'm the general manager, I'll get Laviska Shenault. This guy fits what Baltimore wants. He's a wide receiver who is very physical. He's very fast as well. Although Marquise Brown is a physical specimen, this guy is very fast. He's very athletic. He can make a lot of plays tapping the ball in his hands, and he'll give Lamar Jackson another good target to throw the ball to. And he also has reliable hands as well. And that's something that these Baltimore Ravens wide receivers don't really have is reliable hands. They can make a lot of big plays, but their hands aren't really the most consistent, as we saw in that Tennessee Titans game when they dropped 9 passes. So the 29th overall pick, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting halfback J.K. Dobbs. Now, there's probably another pick that's probably going to cause a lot of controversy and down in the comment section down below. But the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, don't really have a number one halfback on their roster. They have a lot of good number two options that are good at passing the football, things like that, catching the football and passing downs and things like that. But I don't think they have a true halfback on the roster. Now, LaShawn McCoy is probably going to end up retiring. So you need to go ahead and select J.K. Dobbs. I think J.K. Dobbs is the second best halfback in his draft class. He's very physical. He has good balance. He can also catch the ball in the backfield as well. So he can be an every down back for Kansas City as well. So with the 30th overall pick, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Caleb Cheston out of LSU. This guy doesn't really have a lot of experience as an edge rusher. I believe he used to be a halfback and he ended up getting converted to a linebacker. But overall, I think he has a lot of potential. I think Mike Vrabel can go ahead and coach him up, give him another year of development, things like that. He's another good addition alongside the other side of Harold Landry there for Tennessee. So the 31st overall pick, I had the Green Bay Packers selecting linebacker Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. I think Green Bay's defense needs another linebacker, and Wisconsin has a good reputation of not only producing good offensive linemen, but good linebackers as well. I think Zach Bond would be another good addition to that Green Bay Packers defense. Not only is he a good tackler, but he can also rush the passer. He also is very good in coverage as well. So he can do a little bit of everything at that linebacker position, and he'd be a perfect fit for the Green Bay Packers. And the last pick of my NFL mock draft 1.0, I have the San Francisco 49ers selected cornerback Damon Arnette out of The Ohio State University. Now the San Francisco 49ers don't really have a lot of holes to fill on the roster. It's probably one of the most complete rosters in all of football, but I do have him selected the cornerback because I think he will be a pretty good slot corner, and I think the 49ers could use an upgrade at that nickel corner or slot cornerback position. So I have Damon Arnette being the last pick of my first round mock draft 1.0 for this 2020 NFL draft class. So let me know who you guys have down in the comment section down below. Let me know if you disagree, agree with my mock draft. Name me some players who you think will be better fits, and let me know what picks you agree, disagree with, things like that. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.